Hey, I'm Steve, also known as TerraMantis.
And I'm Dave Klein.
In this video, we're going to talk about not just Dark Souls, but the 10 coolest or unique inspirations that went into making this great game.
Yeah, and we're not here to point out just the simple stuff, like the similarities between the Bridge Dragons and Demon Souls and Dark Souls, or Yurt and Lotric, or Leroy and Garl, or Leroy and Garl, or what are you doing?
Nothing, go about your business.
Like I was saying, we're not just going to do the simple stuff like similarities between Oswald and Mephistopheles, Squawky the Bird, or the Belfry Gargoyles and the Man-Eated... Steve, you're doing it again.
That's right, Dave. We're going to get deep into Dark Souls, covering not just Demon and Dark Souls, but inspirations taken from all over. This is 10 things you don't know about Dark Souls. Inspiration Special. Number 10. The manga anime Berserk is fairly well known for having deep inspirational roots in the Souls franchise, and it's as good a place as any to start off the list. In an interview with Demons and Dark Souls game director Hidetaka Miyazaki, the subject of armor design was brought up, in particular Sigmayr's Katarina armor set. In the interview, Miyazaki refers to the character design as a large, overweight character like Bezuso from Berserk. There are also many inspirations pulled from Berserk's main protagonist, Guts, in relation to the Abyss Walker himself, Artorias. For one, there are many visual similarities between the two. Guts' special Berserker armor is a direct inspiration to Artorias' design. They both have a bum left arm, and they both wield a gigantic greatsword, but there are also parallels between their characteristics as well. When Guts uses his Berserker armor, it eats away at his humanity, releasing a dark spirit within him called the Hellhound, turning Guts into a mindless killing machine. This is not unlike Artorias' inner battle to withstand the corruption of the Abyss, which ultimately does take him over. And just like Guts' spirit animal being the Hellhound, Artorias is referred to as the Wolf. And if that wasn't enough, even the gaming community was inspired by Berserk with the popularized playthrough challenge for Demon Souls called Guts Mode.
Speaking of TV inspirations, Miyazaki was also influenced by the classic Japanese show Ultraman.
It's Ultraman!
The Crystal Ring Shield special attack was designed to look like Ultraman's Ultra Slash attack. Miyazaki tried to explain it to his artist, but he had no idea what Miyazaki was talking about. Perhaps that's why Miyazaki was quoted saying he wasn't entirely happy with how it turned out. The Souls series, developed by From Software, receives much of its inspiration from the developer's debut franchise Kingsfield. One such inspiration comes from the fourth game in the series, Kingsfield the Ancient City. The man-serpents from Dark Souls bear a striking resemblance to the snake-headed creatures of the Ancient City, known as the Widdas, a clear homage to the classic franchise. In fact, many designs and characters are pulled straight from previous From Software titles. And did you know Patch's first appearance actually wasn't in Demon Souls? In an interview for Japanese internet radio, Game no Shokutaku, Miyazaki revealed Dark Souls was Patch's third appearance, and that Patches from the Souls series is a direct reference to Patch the Good Luck from the 2008 title Armored Core 4 Answer. It's unknown though if he still hates clerics in Armored Core like he does in Demon and Dark Souls, but it's highly likely.
Shouldn't they believe in forgiving and forgetting and all that?
Alright, for number 7, did you know that the Chaos Witch Quelaag was inspired by an old-school tabletop board game? Miyazaki states that Quelaag's design was inspired by a game he played in his youth called Dragon Pass. In the game, there was a chip for a creature called a crag spider, and the silhouette on the piece always stuck with him. This childhood memory ended up giving birth to the player character's first run-in with a Chaos Demon in Dark Souls.
New Londo wasn't From Software's first city where the occupants tried to seal away a curse along with evil beings by flooding it with water. Oh no, no, no. Deep in the bottom of Kingsfield, the ancient cities, well, ancient city, lies the ancient ruins, as well as the location of the Dark Ones. The occupants of the ancient city were so afraid of the Dark Ones who lay below, they tried to seal them away by flooding the ancient city with water. When shit hits the fan, just bury it away in lots and lots of water. Sound familiar?
Did you know that one of the most famous poses, an icon of Dark Souls, the Sunbro silent anthem, almost never came to be? Miyazaki stated that the Praise the Sun emote was first shown to the higher-ups during the development of Demon Souls, but he was told to scrap the idea. Luckily, he was determined to use it in Dark Souls.
Seath the Scaleless is infamous in Dark Souls for betraying his own kin to gain the secret to eternal life. Yet, long before Dark Souls, Seath was a central character in previous From Software games. In the Kingsfield universe, after the world was born, 2 dragon gods were created in order to watch over and guide all creation. Gyra, the black dragon, whose power was in dark, and Seath, the white dragon, whose power was in light. The two ended up clashing and bringing monsters and destruction to the land, and Gyra's weapon, the Moonlight Sword, is used to destroy Seath in Kingsfield 2. That's right, Seath is the final boss in Kingsfield 2, and yes, this is Seath the White Dragon God, not some angelic demon. It's a dragon, I swear.
Did you know that Manus, with 2 N's, is a Germanic mythological figure attested by the 1st century AD Roman historian Tacitus? Of course you did. Everyone knows that. But in this mythology, Manus means ancestor to human or man, and Manus is historically thought to stem from the same root as the name of the figure Manu in the Hindu tradition. The theosophies of Manu are derived from the concept in Hinduism that Manu was the being who was the progenitor of the human race.
Your progenitor found a 4th, unique soul, the Dark Soul.
Now in Dark Souls, it was believed that Manus was the pygmy who found the Lord's soul in the form of the Dark Soul, or at least an ancestor of the pygmy. It's also believed that the Dark Soul was split many times and spread across humans, giving them their humanity. So what does all this mean? Well, I have to say that the character Manus in Dark Souls seems to be directly inspired by Manu and Manus, and it strongly suggests that Manus is in fact the pygmy who started humanity, just like the figures of mythology who share the same name.
The Moonlight Sword is such a staple that it's appeared in nearly every game developed by From Software. In fact, the origin of the sword can be traced back to the developer's first Kingsfield game, never officially released outside of Japan. The backstory states that the Moonlight Sword was created by the dragon god Gyra in order to battle the dragon god Seath, and can be found stashed behind Gyra. The end goal of Kingsfield is to defeat Gyra and take the sword, and one of the game's largest secrets is in sneaking behind the final boss to take the sword for your own. The legendary sword makes an appearance again in Kingsfield 2. It is used as the White Dragon Seath's Bane. It then returns in Kingsfield the Ancient City as a legendary Sword of Light with the power to ward off the dark. In 2000, FromSoft released a Kingsfield dungeon creator game titled Sword of Moonlight, which allowed fans to create their own Kingsfield games. The sword even makes reoccurring appearances throughout the Armored Core franchise as the Moonlight Blade, arguably the most powerful light blade in the series. Once again, we see the legendary sword return in all its glory in Demon Souls, and then ironically, in Dark Souls from cutting off the tail of Seath. The sword that was once used to slay Seath in Kingsfield, now turned into Seath's tail drop.
For number 1, it would seem that all roads lead back to that mysterious pendant. And if you're anything like the rest of us, you may have spent countless maddening hours swinging away at walls and falling to your death trying to find a secret to unravel the mysteries of the pendant, only to discover that it was a cruel joke set in motion by Miyazaki, to have players searching for something that wasn't there. In essence, becoming like one of the many characters who fill the bleak world of Lodran. Well, if it makes you feel any better, this wasn't the first time the pendant made an appearance. A very similar pendant first appeared in From Software's game Shadow Tower: The Abyss. Much like the pendant's description from Dark Souls, the Onyx Pendant's description from Shadow Tower reads, "Old-looking item with no obvious value." The Onyx Pendant was also the only item in the entire game that had absolutely no use.
Alright guys, there's 10 things about the influences that went into making Dark Souls. You can check out my channel where I do Dark Souls lore, Let's Plays, and more.
Yeah, or you can check out my channel where I do an assortment of gaming videos, and I also cover Dark Souls as well. Wait, so you're telling me that you make game content too?
Yeah.
That means we're competitors. Yeah. Oh.
Seriously though, make sure to support the awesome community behind quality Dark Souls content, and make sure to check out Steve's channel. There just may be an alternate ending. He animated this great video and I definitely couldn't have made it without him, so check it out.